مشاهدينا أهلا بحضراتكم في تغطية حصرية ومختلفة جدا. من أيام أعلنت اللجنة القائمة على جوائز نوبل 2024 عن أسماء الفائزين بالنوبل في الطب للعام الحالي، ومنحت الجائزة للعالمين الأمريكيين جاري رافكون وفيكتور أمبروز لاكتشافهم ما يسمى بجزيئات الحمض النووي الريبوزي الدقيق أو المايكرو RNA.
The 2024 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine jointly to Victor Ambros and Gary Rafkun.
الحقيقة إن زميلنا رامي نوار بحث كتير علشان يقدر يوصل للبروفيسور الدكتور جاري رافكون الأستاذ في علم الوراثة في كلية الطب بجامعة هارفارد والفائز بجائزة نوبل للطب، علشان ننفرد بحوار تلفزيوني معاه على تلفزيون اليوم السابع. وبالفعل في أول لقاء ليه على وسائل الإعلام العربية والمصرية هيكون ضيفنا النهاردة هو دكتور جاري رافكون. دكتور جاري رافكون, welcome on يوم 7 TV and happy for being with us.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Doctor. First of all, many congratulations. And let's start with the call from the committee after knowing that you're the 2024 Medicine Laureate. How did you feel after winning the award?
Well, it's a wonderful surprise that comes with a phone call if you're in the U.S. East, like I am, at 4 a.m, so middle of the night phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the Swedish accent and you have an idea of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us more about your discovery, Doctor, of an entirely new mechanism for regulating gene expression?
Yeah, so we work on a very tiny little worm called Cenorhabditis, and it's sort of 1 millimeter long, which is, just you can barely see it with your naked eye. In fact, I can no longer see it. Only children can see it easily with their naked eye. And it turns out to be very economical to work on that. And so we can do genetics very efficiently. And we got mutations in it that sort of led us to this discovery of genes that were much smaller than anybody had seen before.
Yes.
And it turned out to be conserved to humans and to plants and basically everything that has a nucleus. There's sort of two kinds of life: those that have nuclei, like animals and fungi and plants, and then bacteria and such do not. And so all the organisms with nuclei have this.
Great. And when did the cooperation between you and Dr. Victor Ambros begun, Doctor?
We were, it was about 40 years ago. We were both postdoctoral fellows, yes, working in another Nobel laureate's lab, Bob Horvitz, at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is in Boston, just across the river from us. And we decided to work together, and we were both sort of young and not super aggressive, so we got along well by cooperating, and we both continued to work on this in parallel.
Great. How much, Doctor, do you think that the discovery will make a difference all over the world?
Yeah, it makes a difference, not just for human health. That's part of it. These microRNAs are present all the way in humans, but they're also present in plants, and plants are very important for the world, as in terms of agriculture and what we eat. You could make the case that plants are more important for the world than humans. We wouldn't have oxygen if it wasn't for plants. So the transformation of Earth is really a transformation by plants. And we're part of, we're the beneficiaries of that.
Great. And when will this discovery be actually applied or actually used, do you think?
Oh, I think it's already being used in plant breeding. There are drugs that are based on these tiny RNAs that are used to treat, these are not diseases that affect hundreds of millions of people, but they affect millions of people. And the new way to think about various diseases. So, it percolates through the pharmaceutical industry, and it percolates through genomics. And you have to understand that when we started this, there were no genomes done. What is the DNA sequence of a human? Well, it's 3 billion letters. None of that was done. When we made sort of the most important step in our discoveries, the human genome was 10% done. Now it's finished. And now we probably have the genome sequences of 100,000 organisms on Earth.
Yes.
So we know a lot. We can tell you what a spider genome looks like, or a fungus genome, or an ant, or a pine tree.
And let's go to Nobel again. Did you expect that you will win Nobel after your discovery?
No, the way
No.
it works is you start to get a certain amount of recognition. You get invitations to give talks at symposia, and then you get invitations at major universities. So you sort of know that it's been noticed. But our first award was 20 years ago, and and there are certain awards that are given where they try to sort of anoint people who haven't been anointed before, and so there's a train that goes on, and the Nobel could have not happened. It could have. It's like, I'm happy it did, but it's not guaranteed when you're doing that. There's a lot of work that happens, and for example, the COVID vaccine came onto the screen last year, and of course that was so important for the world.
Yeah.
Nobody would debate that was a good thing. So, and that just sort of came up since 2020.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us more, Doctor, about the awards you have received before and what they were about?
Well, most of them are about this kind of work, the small RNA work. There's been other awards that we do work on lifespan and what controls how long animals live, and we have mutations that make our worms live 3 times as long, and so there's been an award or 2 for that, but that's a different set of experiments.
Great. Where you went through moments of frustration during your career or during your life, Doctor?
Always. In the last 3 weeks, I've been, having to write renewals to get the money for what we work on.
And which advice do you give for young researchers to achieve their dreams or goals in the future?
Work on something that's really cheap to do, so that you don't spend a lot of money on all the infrastructure you need. So these little worms are very, very economical to grow, and so the amount of funding that you need is so much lower that that helps. And if you're working on living organisms, having a fast generation time like a bacteria or a worm makes the cadence of discovery is much faster. My lab will discover things at 100 times the rate at which someone working on a mouse or corn or things that are sort of hard to cultivate. We're working with organisms.
Great. Doctor, I have a question. Does the scientists or researcher live their life in the laboratory most of their life? And is it true that you don't enjoy life as it should be?
We enjoy the time in the lab too, right? So it's what we're doing.
Great answer.
And it's an international community, right? And so you do spend a lot of time on your computer emailing people about concepts and sending data, going to websites and looking for things. I think most people quite really love it a lot. And science is very, it changes over a 25-year span a lot. And so in that sense, it's quite vibrant.
Great. I have a question about the dog beside you. Is it your dog, Doctor, or what's its name?
Oh yeah, this is our dog. He's the center of the house. He's almost 10. And, you know, my daughter comes home because she misses the dog. She's a medical student and she, you know, loves her dog as he loves her.
She be a scientist also, or what? Your daughter?
She's a real doctor. You know,
Doctor, yes.
patience, and
Yes.
she's a surgeon,
Yes.
right? And it's been fun to watch, you know, your 25-year-old turn into a doctor.
God bless her. And let me ask you about Egypt. Have you visited Egypt before?
I have never been to Egypt, I think, and tried to go to Egypt, but I caught a virus in my trip, and so I wasn't able to go to Egypt. But it was on my schedule to go. This was in 1982 or something like that.
Great. Will you come to Egypt? There is any plans to come to Egypt soon? Or what?
It's not in my current plans, but I'm sure I will because it was on my plans before.
That's great. So, Doctor, with the honor that you're our guest, and we are so happy for being with us, Dr. Gary Rafkon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very, very much, and hope to see you soon here in Egypt.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure.
Goodbye, everybody.
Our pleasure. ده كان لقائنا يعني سريعا كده مع حاصل بقى على جائزة نوبل. يعني احنا بنتكلم مع دكتور حاصل على جائزة نوبل في الطب العام 2024 وهو دكتور جاري رافكون. حاجة عظيمة جدا، حاجة تشرف يعني ان ده يبقى مثال يحتذى بيه ونتعرف عليه ويكلمنا عن نفسه ويكلمنا عن الجائزة ويكلمنا عن بيته ويكلمنا عن بنته ويكلمنا عن الكلب بتاعه. يعني شوفوا الناس برضو دماغها فين وتفكيرها فين، وحاجة برضو نموذج يحتذى بيه. ده كان لقاء خفيف وسريع، والحقيقة بشكر رامي نوار زميلي العزيز على مجهوده ان هو قدر يوصل لدكتور جاري، ويا رب يكون اللقاء نال استحسانكم. انا بشكركم شكرا جزيلا على المتابعة، وإلى